him again. Motherfucking odd voice.
I know Kung Fu. Show me.
They owe you that debt of gratitude. By owing you that debt of gratitude, they owe you everything. And this is how this scenario is has been tailored. So then you owe them. They can get you to do whatever. They've manipulated basically your feeling set and your reality by saying, "Hey, if I didn't come out of the blue to become your superhero, Captain Save-A-Ho, then you would be in fucking dire straits. You'd be in prison right now." And of course, most people
This is like some
naively,
48 laws of power shit.
it's so true. But and that's what's crazy. It works on so many levels. This is
Right.
a pimp having one pimp. We're talking about the book Pimp with Iceberg Slim, and it goes on so many levels. He is talking about an average woman who is in desperation and bringing them in, manipulating them, showing them that he is their savior, and basically saving them. And then you can take that to any aspect of
People have a
life.
need, natural need to reciprocate.
Right, and even for jobs, I've come to find out many jobs will treat you as if, hey, I got you this job. You're working, you're making money. You're going to do exactly what I said. You're here for me, and they recognize it as some type of
It's funny.
slavery, and many
Yeah.
even in this scenario, you think in the West, they're like, no, I would never do that. Why is that? I would never work like at these jobs I've been working. I would never work 8, 9, 10 hours and not have a 5 minute, 10 minute break or a lunch break. You know what I mean? Like that's got to be legal. That's got to be illegal not to get a lunch break, but it's legal. They can do that. It just depends on what state you're in. It depends on if you want the job or not, because they can seriously find somebody that they can basically do what they want. Got them by the neck, and you're gonna do it. Do it. It's this non-ownership of your business, right? You don't own the job. You don't own the company. You just work for the company. You know.
Yeah. I think about that sometimes when I'm at work because I feel like the company has this idea often that we are doing you a favor versus you are thinking I'm doing you a fucking favor. And then
Right.
everybody's kind of self-interested and they're like, they think
Right.
that they are the right one in the situation. And then because you come into that with this point of view, instead of not noticing the two sides, you're like, oh, they probably think, and it's also in relationships. It's like you think you're right, but your partner, like you, because you think you do so much for your partner, versus they only focus on the things that you're doing wrong, so they can't see any good shit that you're doing. And
Right.
and the opposite is also true. And then you have all these conflicts, and like you hear somebody say something like, "I did all this shit for you," and you're like, "You did all this shit." Oh, the amount of things, and you know what I mean. And it's just like the
Yeah.
people can see the good because here's the thing: if you are looking for something, even if you're looking for the evidence of ghosts, you will find it. Anything, your brain will find the evidence to support the belief that you have,
Right.
which is why it's
And,
so important to pay attention to what you're paying attention to.
your awareness. I agree. Because your awareness is so
Awareness.
easily manipulated through your subconscious. And many psychology books will tell you this. The actual consciousness is just the iceberg of the actual conscious body. All the rest of it, the subconscious, is 90% of everything. Just the top is the 10% is what you talking when you say something, when words come out of your mouth, when you decide, well, sometimes when you decide to walk down the street, because that's only 10%, because the other 90% is controlled by your basal, by your base instincts, your need to breathe, your need to eat, your need to be pacified through sex, the need for love, the need for companionship, the need, all these
All
needs.
biology based on millions of years of evolution.
It's crazy, bro. And so you have to really question what the
You are
fuck have,
going
have
to
me.
do exactly 95% of the things you did today are exactly the same as the things you did yesterday. You
Yeah,
only add like a tiny little bit of changes, and sometimes those changes don't come from your own ideas. They come from your environment that you have no control over, forcing you to do
situation.
something differently today. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh.
That's
And
very very relevant. And your resources, your access to resources, your access to the outside world. your outside bubble. Do you even look at your outside bubble? You know,
Yeah, because on the topic we're talking about the relationships and kind of seeing two points of view, because you have awareness of everything else and you have self-awareness. But if you have enough awareness, then you're like, well, if I think like this, then they think the same way I think, which is about my side. So they're thinking about their side. So I have to pay attention not just to my side, I have to pay attention to what they might be thinking and then
but
act
nobody.
upon that. So
I,
you can predict decisions better when you're self-aware of yourself,
when you're
because self-awareness
self-aware,
of yourself allows you to be self-aware of what others people's self-awareness, which makes you make better decisions.
and that's the whole point, that majority of people don't go through that step to think, oh, what does this person actually think, unless it's maybe their significant other. You know what I mean? But otherwise, they don't actually do that. I believe, and I think that most managers, they probably utilize this in a way that benefits them only in a power struggle, right? You want to show that you know what's the correct way to get things done, and that that's the reason why they put you in that position, even though you may not know.
That is I heard this in I was reading, what was it? I think it was just a concept of Kaizen that I heard somewhere. Basically, Toyota had this dealership, or not dealer, this company where they implemented like this concept of Kaizen, which is like 1% better every day, essentially, like tiny little improvements. And so what they do is they get every employee has to come up with ideas about how to improve the things around them, around what they're working constantly. So they have to come up with ideas. And about 99% of the ideas that they come up with get approved and at least get tried so they can be checked if they work. Versus in the West, usually you come up to your manager saying you have this idea how to do something, and instead of applying your idea to check if it's actually going to work, usually what happens in the West, or what used to happen, is that the manager would tell you something like that would never work, you know? And so when Toyota actually came in and took over a dealership in the US that was failing, and they actually fired everybody from that because it just wasn't working, you know? They combined forces, but they said we're only gonna combine forces and we're gonna hire everybody who you fired, except you have to implement our Kaizen philosophy. And they fucking did. They hired all the same people, the same but just a different philosophy, and they ended up being the best fucking place in their region. But with the same people, just a different philosophy.
Interesting. Yeah, for sure. Did you hear about this thing with Google when they took off their they had this long what do they call it, motto, long running motto, don't be evil.
Don't be evil.
Yeah. So it's basically their business model was don't be evil. But I guess in 2020 or 20 sometime in the 2020s, they took it down, and now it's not their motto anymore. Yeah,
Funny, because that implies that, wait, so now we can be evil?
right.
Right?
They're like, well, we don't want to be hypocrites. But then I think to myself, is it evil to take a sign down because you don't want to be a hypocrite, or would it be evil to continue to do evil and leave it up and be deceptive? Which one was the best decision in it? You know what I mean?
I guess
It's
it
almost
depends on interpretation.
picking a sore at something, and then you're like, why did I do that? Now it's bleeding.
Yeah, don't scratch those scratches, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just roll this until these fucking headphones die. And now we
My
have
brother
this
got some headphones
uncomfortable
just like
moment of
this.
silence, this solitude. Oh, I was gonna tell you about, because you were talking about the subconscious, right? About how 90% of your daily actions are. But you can also use the subconscious to your advantage. And did you ever hear about the thing that Salvador Dali used to do?
No, tell me.
Do you know Salvador Dali?
Yeah, the artist.
Yeah, the guy with the crazy mustache.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
he
he
did
was a
the
master
melting
at,
clock.
Yeah, he was a master at it's called surrealism. And the reason he had such surreal ideas is because he came up with this cool concept where he would take a nap on a chair and he would have his arm on the armrest and he would go to sleep. But when he was going to sleep, he would have a coin in his hand. And so as he was dozing off, there was a plate right underneath the coin. And he was really fascinated about this state that's in between dreams and reality. And so every time he dozed off, his hand would open his body relaxed and it would drop. And so he would kind of jolt awake right in that state. And so he said he was able to get all these crazy images that you can normally access when you're in that, like, because the state between dreaming and being awake is the hypnotic state where your imagination goes wild, but you're kind of
Fucking
conscious, but you're
delirium.
not aware. Yeah. And so that's how he was able to become such a master at surrealism.
Wow, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I've never heard
And
that
then you have
before.
Brian Tracy's method of sitting in solitude for 60 minutes, you know? That's also interesting. I tried that yesterday and I like completely changed how I'm viewing the podcast with the
In
solitude because you
darkness
sit
or
for 60 minutes. No, you just sit in solitude for 60 minutes and after 25 to 30 minutes, you get this clarity and you just kind of listen to your inner voice, you know? And you get answers to things that you forgot you were questioning. You're like, oh yeah, I was curious about that. And then you just domino onto other shit and then you see how it all connects to this thing that you were looking for.
yeah, then you have to think. That's what I think we were talking about before. Where do
Yeah,
thoughts
the
even come
answers you're
from?
looking for are in
Where
the silence you're avoiding.
right? The ether that everyone talks about. The ancients talk about the people who take the DMT. They fall into the ether and they come into a state of being and not being. You know, the Schrodinger cat type of thing. And if, I'm guessing in this realm that you're in the process of thinking a thought
It's
and
called the
just
waiting room, I think.
receiving that thought in a waiting room, huh?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, because
Especially if
you
we all
see, I was thinking
receivers,
about I used to always think yeah, we are just like antennas picking up this shit from the ether. Who knows where it's coming from, you
right?
know? It's
Where it
coming
comes
from a lot of
from.
things. It's coming from
Just
because your
musicians.
perception is shaped by your experience. Your perception is shaped by your experience and your experience is shaped by your perception or perspective. And so I was gonna say that and
In the
I forgot again.
subconscious,
Okay, here we
right?
go.
You were talking about the subconscious. How most of it, 10% of it is what we're doing,
I was
the
gonna say
actual
on
on
the
top.
side of the of doing nothing, when you look at the atom is made of 99.999999999% of nothing. It's a
Space.
void.
Yeah.
And then the little tiny thing that's inside of it, that's 0.00001%, is what makes up everything else. And so the idea is that sometimes it takes a whole lot of nothing to create everything.
There you go. This is another artist. Some artists believe in the negative spaces. I think also some philosophers believe the answers are
I
within
had
the
this
negative
idea. I
spaces.
had this. I had this argument with someone about the negative space because it's a negative space is a concept in art.
Right. And I think that this is it.
Yeah, I forgot what
This
it was.
this is something. That's what it is, right? This is what the funniest
Well,
thing. Just
like
like you
everything
said,
else.
I forgot what it was. Right? Where did it go? And then what are you waiting for?
Forgot what
And
nothing
when it
was.
comes back, yeah, it came. And when it comes back, it comes from where?
Yeah,
You can't even tell me that
nobody knows.
there's full sentences in my head. That's not the way the brain even works. You know what I mean? We know that. It's not like I got words, like I got an and neuron, I got a the neuron, and then they're just like flashing my words back and forth. It's a full conscious
Well,
exposure of an
your th
idea.
your thoughts follow your emotions, right? Your thoughts follow
I
your
would think,
emotions, but then you can have more thoughts that stimulate more emotions. So it's not really like there's like one after the other, like a linear way of us thinking, like beginning, end, start, finish, life, death. You know, it's more like interconnected, like a circle. So there's like thought, emotion to thought to emotion to thought to emotion, and because the original part of the brain was based on emotion, because emotions were there were tools that we developed, we evolved in order to put ourselves in a state that would allow us to act in the proper way. So we seen something, and then eventually we came up for an emotion that would get us in a state ready to deal with this thing that's in front of us. So like if there's somebody fucking about to fight you, then you get angry so you can get in that state that you can deal with the situation. And then later we went further down the evolution, which is probably pretty recently in evolution terms, we developed the frontal cortex, which was able to take that emotion down and be like, I know I'm angry about this, but right now, if I act it out the way I want to with my limbic lizard brain, this is not going to be good for me. And so you are able to control your emotions. And all the evolution now happens. If you have to you have to know when to use the emotion and use it to act right. And then you also have to know when to take that shit away, and it's up to you to realize what the society and the people around you value most. That right now we kind of value people that control their emotions more than people just act on impulse, because this is the most recent advantage, the frontal cortex.
Yeah, this is definitely the cultural aspect acting on that old brain.
Yeah.
But I
And
feel
now we
like,
have moved from this because we sped up evolution with AI. So now people are going to value those who take AI advice. Because you could
and
think about shit all day, but you can make way better decisions if you ask AI about it,
and
usually.
novel. I think and novel decisions. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times you think like somebody comes up with an idea and you're like, oh, that shit suck. That shit's fake. You couldn't come up with that. That's stupid. You'll never get that together. But now you can come up with an AI idea and it'll back it with information. And you're like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this source says that it's factually possible for you to create a super powerful laser or something shit like this. You know
You
what I
look
mean?
for evidence. You look for evidence, you're gonna find it.
You find it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Anything you want. Oh. And so this is an interesting topic to fucking dive into the AI girlfriends, because I feel like we are no like normally you have to like change for your partner a little bit, compromise something, but the moment you have an AI girlfriend, you don't have
You
to
do what's
change fuck all. Now
right,
she can
right.
be a different person every single day. She can be a Chinese hooker one day and a little Latina tomorrow. Maybe
Yeah.
even later with like nanotechnology, she can actually change the body in real time, because you're gonna want novelty in real time, like changing into different shapes. And I feel like the final form, at least in my own
And that
imagination, is just like
saturation.
it's just like two symbiotes fucking and like constantly changing. So there is like this novelty and pleasure at the same time. That's kind of maybe where my mind goes with this shit. But I feel like it's just gonna be like the same way you like scroll like this. Now you scroll kind of slow because you have to like wait for it. But if you could just like scroll and you wouldn't even have to see it, you would like instantly download it and like be able to feel it in like microseconds with all that without the friction of having to watch it. Then you would eventually get to the point where you're like, and you're not even moving your finger. There is no friction on the screen. It's just like, and you just get to this like this single like noise that just like and like never stopping.
A
Do you get what I'm saying?
full dopamine feed, being able to make your
Yeah,
threshold,
and
just meeting
and
it.
eve- eventually you get to this point because this is what I was gonna say. For the longest time, I used to believe that the longest battle in history was the battle between good and evil. But then I realized that it's not between good and evil. The longest battle that has ever been is the battle between being and doing, the dopamine and the serotonin. Because normally you get the dopamine because it motivates you to go out and get what you want, and then you get what you want and you're happy for a second, for a while, and then you sit and you can just be. You get a new mic for your podcast now. Now I have everything. But then after you sit with a new mic for a little bit, then all of a sudden you need like an extra light to like shine, enhance your, and then you go out with the dopamine again and get the new light, and finally, oh, now I'm settled. And then you're thinking, oh, I need a better camera. I need a better, and so it's always like this cycle of continuous being happy or just being and doing, being, doing, being, doing, being, doing. And that's all we do. Do you agree with that?
I, I am, therefore, I think, therefore, I am. I feel like if you moving forward, um, is just as valuable as someone sitting So I don't know. A
Yeah,
path
you're
is like this
hinting onto
path,
some very profound ancient wisdom because
right? Because
The Taoist knows that ruling an empire is equal to making your tea in the morning. He doesn't give a fuck. He knows it's all the same shit.
it's
Like a
like
leaf
we're
falling
on
from a
this,
tree is equivalent to an empire falling.
and the a grain of
It's just the
sand is
meanings we have
equivalent to
attached
the
to things
earth.
are different, right?
You know what I mean? I said a grain of sand is equivalent to the earth. You know,
Right.
into this.
Think, think about all this shit we're not paying attention to, like all this like microorganism like eating your dead skin right now and shit. You're not thinking what that guy is thinking, you know?
Not a
Yeah.
one.
And you're like, oh, I'm making my own decisions. Meanwhile, there's like bacteria in your gut craving sugar and saying, go get that chocolate bar
Right,
in the fridge right now. Get that Reese's Pieces from you, will you?
right. Your gut building up the
And
next poo.
the funny thing is you think you're making your own decision, but if they like just scan your brain, the decision's made like fucking 10 seconds before you become consciously aware of it. And then you're like, oh no, no, that's my decision. I feel like it would be
But
kind of unbearable to be able to like you're just stuck in a cycle of not having any control.
I want to bring this up if I can. It's about the same thing with this decision making and who's control of your decisions. And so it's back to this Drake and who's that other artist that was in the battle? You don't know this artist
Kendrick,
battle? Kendrick. So Kendrick
Kendrick
Lamar and
Lamar?
then
Yeah.
you're right, and then Drake. So they having this battle, and so me and my brother were talking about basically the industry, and this is what Drake introduced Kendrick to was this industry that basically would play his music in all these places over and over and over again because he had power and money to pay them to play his music, right? And so this put him at the top of the charts. And if you don't have this access to these people or to these groups to be able to pay them, then you will never get played, right? And so it kind of goes all the way back to old hip hop, right? Into the 90s. And everyone was always like, why is all the old hip hop all about guns and killing and all this type of stuff? And no other artists were being played because this was a undercover an undercover operation to basically manipulate young black minds to have and only aspire to having things that drug dealers and athletes have, not to aspire to anything else, not to be a manager of a corporate company, not to run your own business, none of this type of aspiration in the real world, only to aspire to the ghetto world. And so
Yeah, it's
all the
kind of like
kids,
somebody just being like, hey, look here, only here, look here. Here is the carrot
yeah,
on the stick. Have the
yeah,
carrot.
you only want this. You hungry? What are you hungry for? You only hungry for diamonds, gold, and you know what I mean?
Let me tell you what you're gonna be hungry for. This carrot.
Right. This card.
You have to pay
This
attention to
is
the music you listen to, guys.
this is it.
Everything you're paying attention to is have an influence on you if you want it or not.
Right. That's that subconscious that we're talking about.
Yeah.
90%. 90%.
Don't listen to the sad songs when you're sad.
If you don't want to be sad.
Actually, you know, I found this pendulum to be really fascinating in my life because I've realized that I have these days, and it's usually like day to day, where it's like if I am really happy today, then if I'm not feeling the same level of happiness tomorrow, I'm feeling worse. And so I just realized that I don't really pay attention to like if I'm feeling bad today, I'm just like, oh, tomorrow's gonna be great because it can be worse than this. Let's see, even if it gets worse, then it's like, oh, it can only get better from here. And it's like this expectation is what kind of fucks you up. But I feel like it's always a pendulum and it always swung. I've never seen a time where it didn't swing. I've never felt bad and never felt better. And I've never felt good for so long that it didn't stop feeling good. Like eventually, like some shit comes up, somebody rings your phone from outside of your control and you have to listen to some bullshit or something happened to your family or whatever, you know? or a girl you were supposed to see all of a sudden has to leave the city and shit like that. Like shit happens. And so you just have to, if Anthony de Mello said this best, he's like, if you want to be really happy today, then prepare for depression tomorrow. It's coming. If you're depressed tomorrow, it's gonna be happy the next day. And it's like you can't be nor happy nor sad. And then I heard this thing yesterday, and it was a meme, but it was really profound. There was like a picture of Buddha saying, expectations are you have to let go of all your expectations if you want to let go of the disappointment and suffering. And then somebody says, so you just want to be disappointed right now so that you don't have to be disappointed later.
So fucking silly. I was thinking the same thing. I was like,
So good.
it's this the thing with desire and ego. And so if you're able to like tame or keep aware of what drives these things inside of you, you can really have some freedom, away from having the need to fulfill something that's fictional, a fictional ideal situation, you know, and because
Yeah. I
ideally, if
believe
you
Buddha
go get
coined
a
it as
burger or whatever,
the
and
paradox of control.
right, right, when you recognize that you don't have control and that it's all in the experience of one moment in time and space in a trillion event that you are, then you end up eating that burger, and that's the only time that burger will ever be eaten by you, by that individual who's consciously thinking of it, who can never be replicated, who can never be done again.
Yeah. Um, what was it? It was that. I forgot.
One
uh,
one one moment in time, this moment, just like this podcast. Us two guys,
yeah.
have this existence. Nobody exists like us. Nobody is us, and we're making a podcast that together that will never be made again in space and
As
time.
far as
It
we
can
know.
never be. It can't be. It can't be made
Yeah.
in July 18th, 2025 again. Unless time, like you said, we don't understand it. It's not linear. We go back through and we remake it again because at the end of time and space, we just go back in a reband reverse, and we have to live everything in reverse.
For all you know, we are just like a tiny little reflection of the actual podcast we're shooting, and we are just like I like to call it like the piece of butter that stays on the knife, but the actual sandwich is like somewhere else. We're just like the
Somewhere
tiny
else,
little.
that sliver, where does that sliver go? That piece that's been taken away, right? Because when you make
Yeah,
that
like
cut,
you know
there's
when you put
something
fresh
gone,
bread on the fucking on the
right?
board, and there is like the little crumbs that fall. Like you are just like this fractal
Right,
crumb that fell off this big piece of bread, and you're like,
big
this is
piece of
everything.
bread.
This is the piece. This is my. I all I know is my piece of crumb.
Right. This is the slice of life
Yeah.
that I got.
You can't even see the other pieces of crumbs. Don't even mind the big fucking bread you fell off.
I
Yeah.
like that one.
Yeah, but the fractal universe is really interesting, because then that makes sense with the mirror version of it,
The mirrored
because
universe.
yeah. Did you see Elon's Twitter post about they made the first plane that's invisible? Did you see
What?
that one?
No, I didn't
They
see that.
made a plane that's able to be invisible. Do you know how they did it?
No, how?
They covered it in the Epstein files.
I felt like I couldn't see that one coming at all, bro. That shit was amazing.
Mm. Oh, he's been posting some mad shit. But what was that shit about Taylor Swift?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it had Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, and Bad Bunny. So basically, looking at the top people being Googled today, you got Donald Trump at the top, of course, being the captain of the whole charade, and you got Elon Musk sandwiching these three other musical artists. And I thought to myself, what a crazy idea of a threesome, because that's what it's all about, like an Epstein Island episode, right? Where there all these musicians show up on the island, and the two billionaires come to watch these guys fuck. It's like, wow, did we pay money for this? We were just here on a stopover, because they had the flyovers, and they stop on the island just for where they have the layovers. That's what they're
You
saying.
really
All the
blame them for
people.
being on that island? It's kind of hard. Like Rogan make a good point about this. He said, when you're a billionaire, like if you're like Bezos or like what's his name, the guy that made Windows or Microsoft, the pedophile. He said he said that
Gates.
it's
You
pretty
talking about
hard
Bill
for these
Gates?
guys to get laid. Like you can't just go to a club and get laid. Everybody knows you, or someone could like snipe you out of there. But even that, it's like you can't just go up to a chick and then she's gonna post on Twitter the next day that she's after fucking blowing you, you know? If you're like Jeff Bezos, you don't want that smoke. You're gonna end up like McGregor. Did you see that selfie of McGregor the other day?
No, I didn't see it.
So I forget who the lady was. She was a black lady though. And he sent her a picture of him holding a weight that was hanging by a string from his cock. And then the lady decided to post it on social media, and now fucking everyone's seen it. He's like,
What the
so
fuck?
that's the kind of dick pics McGregor sends. He shows you how much you can lift.
Now
His dick.
a man can't even do dick exercises in peace, huh? He got to fucking.
That's the price of fame, brother. You can't be getting famous and fucking and
But
doing that shit, you know?
I'm with you. I'm in agreement with you. Like you're saying that you kind of expect these individuals to have these arranged events set up, because they don't get the opportunity to go out and mingle with people every day, like at the grocery store or at the church or at walking down the street,
Park.
which right
Yeah.
at the park. They don't do these things which you would think as a common person. They're in a private jet. You don't even meet anybody at the airport type shit. You know what I mean? So you
Yeah.
think to yourself, how do they live this lifestyle? I mean, you can go all the way back to Michael Jackson if you think about this. This guy's had to make his own entertainment park in order to like relive his childhood, because it was stolen from him from his abusive father. It's just one of those scenarios that just build on top of each other. And these billionaires, they really don't get to live a life. They have everything, but they don't know what they want because they have everything. So you're always sampling, 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 sampling. So you never really get to know yourself, because you always can have something else. You don't have the absence of it and say, oh, well, I don't need that, but I actually like this instead anyway. That never occurs to them. That's never a thought process. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want it because I've already had it. I had it 50 million times. I've had it six, 7 times. I've seen it before. I've seen sex scene. I've seen porn before. I've seen two people have sex. Now I want to see a celebrity have sex. I want to pay for that to happen. I want to pay for this event. Something that like, wow, I've never seen that shit
You
before.
need that shock factor, you know? Your dopamine
Yeah,
sensors are all fried up.
yeah,
You need some novelty, you know?
yeah. Think about how much
I
they're
mean, I
chasing it.
guess I guess they could pick up chicks at the park, but they would have to like disguise themselves, which is even more weird than going to a
Yeah.
billionaire's island and just
Right. All right. How
doing
much
that.
effort is that? How much more effort? And you can just like, would you kind of like, I don't know, you subcontract that to your assistant, you like, or your several assistants. You said, hey, we're going to go to a party, set up this party, or find us the party that's going to be happening. The what do they call them? The white parties, where you go masquerading around, so then people can know that they are in a secure place with people of quality, that they're going to be, you know, around, so they
Very
can
secure.
interact.
There's like a
Yeah,
hundred cameras in the place.
yeah. If you got $1 billion, you're not gonna be fucking bums. You know what I mean? This was one of these scenarios that your whole scenario is to e- excel in everything: the highest quality food, the highest quality home, the highest quality wife. Maybe if you got the um,
Who needs one of
uh,
those?
yeah, one of these these, what do you call them, trophy wives. You know, you get the highest quality of whatever, highest quality business, highest quality portfolio. Then you go to the highest quality parties. Then that's all mingling with maybe a bunch of squares. You know what I mean? That's gonna be boring as fuck after the 100th party. You know what I mean? And so you go to the next
That's the
level.
thing. I
That's what
think
I
about
see.
that sometimes. It's because everybody wants to kind of get rich, maybe not necessarily get famous, but everybody wants to get that money so they can fucking sit on that beach in Thailand. But you don't realize that after a while of sitting on that beach in Thailand, that becomes your reality. Now this is like the norm. And so it's not doesn't feel like a holiday anymore. It's kind of the same as like if you were just if you give up on everything and just end up doing nothing all day, it feels cool for a while because it's cool when you do nothing, when you procrastinate, when you have something to do, but when you don't have anything to do because you're doing nothing just feels like your daily reality. There's nothing fun about it, kind of, you know?
That's for sure. For sure. I lived in Hawaii, and think most people dream of going to a place such as Hawaii, you know, a paradise all coming together. And you're like, I'm going to spend my whole life. I'm going to spend this much amount of dedicated time to save my money for this so I can go to Hawaii and go there. But the people who live there, they're like, fuck.
Right.
I would much rather be somewhere else. I fucking don't want to be here. I hate being here even, you know? And you think to yourself, you live in paradise. What the fuck are you even talking about? But they don't know. It's the same thing with anything. And I think that's this ingrained adaptability which humans have. Once you adapt and become satiated in some fashion, your threshold rises up higher, right? So you need a little bit more, that dopamine chase.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of our biggest blessings is that we can get used to anything, and one of the biggest curses is that we can get
Yeah.
used to anything.
Here's anything.
And I can totally relate to that experience that you're talking about like feeling like you're in paradise. Because when I ran a bar that you worked in, also people don't know
Yeah,
that
for
you did
sure.
work at the same place that I did in Vietnam, in Saigon, and so we
Woo
had
woo.
all these
Woo
people
woo
from all over the
Vietnam.
world. We had all these people from all over the world come over and be like, "Bro, I fucking wish I was you. I could fucking sit here all day, you know." And just like, and because they saved like their hard-earned money in like a shitty job somewhere in the UK, and they like came over
Heard
for
the
a week
same
or
ones. I
two, you
heard
know,
the same
and
ones.
they're like doing the same thing you're doing. They're staying at the bar, except like I'm getting paid, and uh, and I know everybody, and they don't, you know.
Yep, this is it. I heard the same stories, bro, and I believe, you know, the situation, it resonates with people, you know, the whole situation with um having a desire and being able to fulfill that desire. And I kind of feel that's one of the reasons why Donald Trump became president. He kind of embodied this for the people in America. I'm American, but I can stand on the outside because I lived in so many different places over these past years. But I can stand on the outside and see that he embodied what the people were feeling, and he said it. And like a lot of people were not saying shit. You know what I mean? If they don't say nothing, if you don't say it in a way in which it comes with some type of energy, no one gets impact. Energy is the same thing. Energy and mass is the same driving force that sends humanity into the realms of outer space and technological advances. It's the same drive. And so this Donald Trump kind of like tuned into. Like, I'm going to say exactly what I feel like saying, you know, and have the money to back it, which made it even more blunt, you know, in this blunt way. And that this is this whole curtain being pulled because now we can see how rich with Puffy, with Elon, with Puffy's sexcapades, freak offs. You got Elon and his ketamine and all kind of other drugs use. You got Donald Trump trying to hide that he was even a part of Epstein's um, group
Oh,
of friends, right? And so you got these group of people who obviously you thought, it's probably something going on. If I had $1 billion, most likely I would do something in this nature. You know what I mean? You would think that you just get exhausted by your day to day, just like you get exhausted by your 9 to 5 and wish and dream for something else. Somebody with $1 billion is getting exhausted by their day to day and dream of wish for something else as well. It's this connectivity between where we see billionaires as not human, but they are real people too. You know what I mean? In this scenario,
Yeah, I discussed this before. I broke this down because I'm doing another podcast with this girl that I met that don't like ayahuasca and things, and we're kind of delving into freedom. What does like ultimate freedom means? And ultimate, you can only have ultimate freedom when you have ultimate power, because you're only free to do whatever you want if you have the power to do whatever you want. And so when you have all the influence and all the power and nobody above you to tell you what to do, you're gonna exhaust all your easy options that are acceptable by society, and eventually that novelty seeking part of your brain is gonna turn on and be like, there is no consequences to whatever the fuck I do, so I might as well do this crazy shit here. But just to try it, because what the fuck, you know?
as the rules, this the rules don't apply to you, of course, at a certain
Yeah.
state. You would
Not that
think
on mushrooms
because
also. I had this question on mushrooms. I was like, if I had all the power in the world, because we're all judging these people that are like doing all this crazy shit on that level. I'm like, if nobody could fucking stand above me and tell me what to do, what kind of sick shit would I come up with eventually? And I
this is
think
true.
everybody, like, you can judge me right now listening to this, but ask yourself that question. What the fuck would
Yeah,
you do if you had all
yeah,
the power and no consequences? No
no
consequences.
consequence. Yeah, no consequences. Yeah,
That'd be,
you're like rubbing the genie lamp, and you get more than three wishes. You know.
mm. And I can fulfill fulfill all those wishes, yeah.
Yeah, it's just repetitive. You just go back to the lamp, go back to the well. It's that same thing. Didn't you have the saying that you would always said to me, like power is corrupting, all encompassing or something like this. There it is. That's the one.
Absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's what it was, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
since we in this time where all information, we're in this singularity, right? We're in this time where all information is accessible to each individual, to where they can now make decisions with they could literally make a decision with groups of people who do not live anymore. You know what I mean? You can get the AI to embody, because there's so many
Alright.
authors. You think about how
Yeah.
much data been linked up of Tesla's information and his own personal writings, or Leonardo da Vinci and his own personal writings. You can get the AI to, like, hey, give me a novel, or give me a phrase, or give me a paragraph in the form of Leonardo da Vinci, or uh, as if I was Tesla's assistant. You know what I mean? You can really hone in on that. And if you think about what level of AI that's probably possible, and if you had $1 billion and you had a toy to play with, which there's a bunch of toys that billionaires have that we don't have, right? Everything's got to be scaled up. If you have to think about your exhaustion, dopamine overload of being overloaded with the toys and fancies of being able to spend your money. You know that they're going to purchase an AI that's smarter, that has more access, more real time, more power processing, and say, "Hey, I want you to act as if you were Bill Gates,
Yeah.
and also with uh, Ronald Reagan, and maybe Thomas Jefferson as your consulars of my idea, and give me some document in which, however you want to prompt the AI, give me some document that's going to give me uh, the best idea to write a new Declaration of Independence, something wild, just for fun.
Well, the
That's what I'm
Declaration
thinking.
of
What they do
Independence.
for fun. What about it?
Declaration of Independence was actually written with a quill. Did you know that?
With a
With a
quill. Oh
feather.
yeah, the pen.
Yeah. Because I was researching the history of pens. And because I want to talk about this because you mentioned You can kind of frame AI, you can prompt AI to kind of give you like this perspective and give you this better information as if it was someone else. So you can like emulate that it's somebody else, impersonate that person, so you can get advice from them, even though they might be not even here anymore. Like a lot of the time, I would ask AI to act like Socrates and question me on my shit. Or like yesterday, I was talking about Rick Rubin, and he has this practice of like he never when he advises artists, he never like tells them what to do. He actually asks them about all the shit they want to do, and what he does is actually he takes away all the unnecessary shit. That's his process. So he never adds anything. He rarely, I think, maybe like added one note to someone over the whole career, but most of the time he just like strips it down because he takes away all the unnecessary shit so that it becomes like this perfect essence of the thing. And sometimes I would like get the AI to impersonate Rick Rubin and like ask me yesterday. I was talking about the podcast, and we were kind of stripping away all the unnecessary shit and kind of getting like to the essence of what it is. And it came down to just spreading kind of awareness in a way, if and just like all the things that people should be taken away from this podcast, which was like awareness and value about like the creativity and all these other processes. But then I came up with the whole idea about inventions, and as I was talking about the pen, um, I think it's interesting how we just keep evolving better ways to pass on information, because back in the day we only told stories, and so you were kind of reliant on like this Chinese gossip of stories being passed on over the generations until they figured out like the reed pens, where it was the bamboo that was sharpened out they would like use to fucking shape on clay. And then obviously they came up with like the quills, so they would have to dip it every time. Then they came up with the filler pens, or the, what do you call it, the fountain pens, so the ink was already inside, but it was kind of, you could like spill the ink too easy. And then finally somebody came up with a ballpoint pen, and then the guy from Bic actually stole his idea. He didn't steal his idea. He actually bought the idea off him for like 2 million, which is back then, which is 24 million now. And then he just fucking, using Swiss state of the art technology, fucking invented like all the little parts of it and made it, instead of it being like $150, he made it like $2, and it actually increased everybody's like literacy from 30% of the world to like 90%, because everybody could write all of a sudden, and it was easy. So yeah, and then we have this fucking, and that's, we started passing on information so much easier with like fucking pens. Think about like how much shit was written with a pen and all these writing tools, and then you go to like digital, and it changes everything. All of a sudden, like, you're never making a decision by yourself. You're already like a symbiote with the AI. Because why the fuck would you make a decision yourself? You don't know everything. Who's the closest thing to knowing everything? AI. And right now there is still friction because you have to like go on your phone, or like even talk to it, versus the thing that they're making now with OpenAI, which is going to be like this device that can see everything you're doing and advise you on every single thing you do in your daily activities. So it's going to be like having a little god ghost sitting on your shoulder telling you like, maybe trying to help you accomplish your goals. So it's going to be insane. And I can only imagine what the fuck comes after that.
I like this with the pen, because if you really think about the increase in the technology, right, from what we were using to
Transfer ideas.
capture, well, yeah, capture and transfer these ideas between individuals. It became where, like you said, more people could read, so and hence more people could write, hence more people could share their own thoughts with another person. And I think that's one of the powers of books and reading in themselves, is that it's usually individuals sharing their ideas and thoughts. Not that the internet does not, but obviously the AI and what is filtered to you nowadays is very tailored for you. You know what I mean? And a book is not. A book is just like, hey, I picked up this book and now I'm kind of a random event happening. Like we all are, a random event in this sequence, and then you get transferred that idea. That idea from that individual or that group of individuals.
And it can change your whole
Uh,
fucking life. One idea
it
from a book,
always
one
does.
sentence. That's why I love
Every
quotes so much.
time.
That's why the bar was
Every
covered in
time,
quotes, because
bro.
a single quote
Every
can change
time.
your whole life.
And that's why the Bible was written. They recognize that every time a book or a written piece of article is uh, created, it forces the other individual to take in this information, and it becomes part of their universe, because you have to understand, you're trying to contemplate what the sentence is. What is the person trying to translate? How does this communicate to me? How does this resonate with me? Usually, because most humans are very ego focused in this way in general, because it's a survival tactic. We stay in this motion, and then we usually only gravitate towards something else if it can benefit ourselves. But I feel because of the technology, because of that technology jump, now we can say, this group thinks what I think. This is how the AI is able to push us into these groups. Thinks what I think also, and now I'm going to read more about this. And most of the time, I feel like most people can be moved. If they read a book, they're moved by it. Just like I said, no matter when you read it, if you can contemplate it, if you can have some understanding of it, you just get moved by it, and usually you jump onto that subject. It just happens. I went to a lot of
This is also why the news are
college
free.
classes like this. What? Why the what?
This is also why the news are free. Why the fuck do you think the TV stations really care so that you have all the information you need? That's why they fucking do the news for free. No, they do the news for free so that you pay attention to the things they
It's
want you to pay attention
captivating.
to. So
Yeah.
you act exactly how they want you to act upon that information. Like you talk to your grandma, like I did today, and she's like, "Oh, but heard that on the TV." I'm just like, "Fuck." And this is why some people nowadays are using AI algorithms. They created like ground news, which gives you a topic that's and the how the left covered it and what kind of a title they used for that topic, that situation that just happened, and then you
Yeah,
can
I've
click
seen it.
right, and it also shows you like the comparison to how the right wrote about it, and it's usually like the opposite. They put themselves in a good light and they put the left in the bad light, and then vice versa
There's
on
a
the other
web
side.
page that does this. There's a
And
web
it's
page
really up
that
to you
breaks
to
down
get like
every
sophisticated
article.
and look at both sides.
That's really great. I mean, most people don't look at both sides, but I think that helps to kind of like get a full view. I like to dabble around and look at like all kinds of news, CNN, Fox News, even Canadian news, and even some Indian news if I can understand it. Just to kind of see what perspective they see
You have
us
to
in the
stay
West.
you have to stay sorry, you have to stay in the middle, you know? That's what it is. Where is this fucking thing?
Is that what the shirt says?
And it,
In the middle, best vibes in the middle in my heart.
that's what enlightenment kind of is. It's like seeing the good and the bad, and the bad in the good, and seeing the happiness in the sadness, and the sadness in the happiness, seeing the impermanence of things. So that's kind of, and nobody kind of wants to adopt that perspective. But the people that think in with that perspective don't really care about what anybody else thinks because everybody else is fucking idiots if they only think on one side. It's like only choosing one philosophy and sticking with that and never like seeing anything else. It's exactly the same as only seeing one girl, and then the girl breaks up with you, and you have this one itis where you think like she could have been the only thing that would have fulfilled my life and
Yeah.
nobody else will ever satisfy me. It's like no, there's other things. If you just check out the other side, it's like, but people often don't. We love to suffer so much, and we love to be right. So we have the power to research anything we want to research, but we have a confirmation bias, which makes us look at things and pay attention to things and information that reinforms our beliefs so that we can stick to our identity. Because anything that challenges our identity challenges our truth and makes us confront the fact that everything we believed in until now was a fucking lie, let's say, and that we were wrong, and we would rather avoid being wrong by sticking to our narrative than confront it.
Yeah, I think confirmation is more settling. Nobody wants to feel like they're not part of the in group. This whole
Yeah,
all
no,
goes
you
back
wanna
to like
belong.
the high school mentality in that sense. But
Yeah, well, it goes
yeah,
back all the way to the beginning of evolution itself. Fucking a single cell was fucking it felt alone, so it fucking split into two of us, and that was two of us. And then in the groups, we were like, you were born in the group, and you kind of seen what the group was doing and what you need to do in order to belong. Because first, what you want to do is you want to like do all the things that they want you to do so that you can belong to them. But later, when you belong to them, now you want to establish your fucking. Now you not only want to belong, you want to be like in the group, but like in a higher status. You know, so then you chase the status game. It's like, okay, who's the smart? Who's the most admired guy here? Who gets the best pussy? You know, and then you do whatever that guy is doing. Like the power defines what kind of knowledge is important right now. Like if you look at the people in power and look at what knowledge they possess, that's the knowledge you need. And usually it's politics, and politics is all about what? Appealing to people's self-interest.
Yeah, I feel like, man, their own personal self interest. But then this is the
Yeah,
whole
but
thing.
they
Just
do
like
that by
Elon,
appealing to your self-interest.
and then pulling the rug out from underneath you, because the whole thing is a is a scenario and script built to move and benefit what you think is you, right? What you think is the population, the group of people, but obviously it's to benefit the powerful, like you're saying, and to benefit the powerful people, they're following a script, you know, and they
If you
get
are
people to
doing any
believe
kinds of
in it.
good for the public publicly, you are not doing it just for the public. If you were doing just good things for other people, you wouldn't do it. Even if you did it privately, the people that you're doing good things for have a different opinion of you. It's all self-interest. Everybody's
It's,
self-interested because everybody's a narcissist. Because babies are narcissists, and we just adopt the behaviors that get us the fucking thing we are looking for, which is that satisfaction and whatever we
I think
need. That's the laws
the
of
true
human nature.
is it this that concept is their true altruism. You know, a true altruism is being able to do something without any benefit to yourself and no driving motivation that is
Yeah, and I don't think that
self
exists. Like
fulfilling.
Mother Teresa
It doesn't.
is
It,
somebody that
it
has that's
I
looked
feel
at as
like
somebody that has very little ego, but she
you
has an
could
ego. She has
initially
an
do something, right? But then once you feel the gratitude that happens, you can't feel like, hey, no, I didn't want it. I don't want to feel good about it. You see what I mean?
helper's high.
Either way, right? Either way, you're gonna feel good about it. So you should do more. It doesn't matter. I feel like it's one of those. Uh, do you want to feel good? The whole world and everything in life is about feeling. If you feel good about it, if you feel inclined to do so, if you feel that your other person that you care about won't feel bad about it, you know, this whole scenario is about the feelings. It overcomes the power. This is what Donald Trump is facing right now with his Epstein files. He was like, "Why are you guys still talking about this guy? I feel like this is the stupidest thing in the world." But obviously his the group of MAGA, the followers, they feel like, hey, we were all thinking we were deceived. You were on our side before that you're going to release these files and tell us, you know, all the secrets, just like you did JFK files, just like you did the UFO files, which is all the setup, scripting, and you do all these things, right? And but now you don't want to release these for what reason? That just makes it look really suspicious. You know what I mean? And I feel like I feel bad for Donald Trump. Obviously, he's 70 years old, and now he has thrombosis or something like this, with a building up of blood pooling in the leg or something like this. But I feel like he just brought this out to try to make a distraction against anything happening. You know what I mean? Like, why are you talking about Epstein? My legs hurt. I got blood building up in my legs. You guys got to be feeling bad about Grandpa here. I'm 70 some odd years old. What the fuck are you still talking about Epstein for? I don't do none of that shit, you know? I feel the same way. I actually feel that there's no reason to bring up some old bullshit. It doesn't make any real
He
significant
managed
difference.
he managed to convince you.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, one person dead over it. It doesn't seem like bringing it up is actually going to lead into anything that's going to be, what you would say,
It's
spiritually
not
or
about
soul
it's not
enlightening.
about the fact that he didn't bring it up. It's about the fact that he deceived everybody by going on Rogan
Right,
and saying the first thing I'm going to do tomorrow is get those files
right.
and send them out
That's
into
the
the public.
thing. Right.
And
They
it's
want to
about
hold him to
making
his
the
word.
it's a typical politician move of making promises and
Yeah,
not delivering on them.
right. They
Because
knew that.
he's really familiar with the culture. He's really good at what he does because he's like, what do people want? They want to fucking know which conspiracies are right. Let's fucking give them that. Let's expose the fucking government who's stealing the money with Elon Musk. Let's fucking give them the Epstein files. Let's fucking do all those things that I said I'm gonna do,
Script
and then let's not
control.
deliver on that. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
he's just really, really good at reading the culture, and that's kind of what you need
It is.
nowadays to fucking get to
Yeah.
go out there.
Yep. When information is flowing as it does, you need a director of the river. He's like the man on the boat with the river. If you want to go anywhere, you need to get in his boat, and he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I got a story for you to tell you," and you got nothing to do but believe it because he's the local rumor guy. He's the local news. He's the reality in which you live in. You know what I mean? This type of thing, and so you got no choice but to listen and get across the river.
That's the only way across, I guess. Yeah, and
Yeah.
choosing him was also, I guess, it was just choosing the lesser evil, kind of. Because if you
What Donald
Tate
Trump
had a
and
really good
Kamala.
Tate had a good point on this. He was like, well, if you don't respect, if because people said like, oh, you didn't choose Kamala because she was a woman, and then the argument was that, yeah, but even you're saying that we didn't choose her that because she was a woman, so you are implying that it was because we perceived her as less powerful because she's a woman. So if we perceive her this way, how the fuck do you think that Putin and all these other world leaders would fucking perceive her, you know? Do you think they would fucking listen to her when she talk to them? It's like, no. So that's kind of a good argument I heard on that. It's like, that's why you don't put a woman like Kamala in power, because nobody would fucking take her seriously.
It's deep in this. I definitely would go off in the deep end with this one because I I, I think that America itself is a very progressive place, and a lot of Europe as well. Progressive in the way they see individuals, their roles, sexualities, and all this stuff. I feel like they are progressive in that way, and most of the rest of the world is very traditional, and so it it is not. Uh, It's just not the way that works out in the favor of people that we like. I just got lost with it. I'm lost with why they they think that we would not do. We always are doing something where we think we're in progression of it, even in every category. The progression of sexuality, the progression of technology, the progression of cultural, being at the right place at the right time, being dressed in the right clothing with the right brands. And I mean, the rest of the world could give three shits about that. No one cares. That doesn't really, it doesn't impact anything. You know what I mean? In their day to lives, you know?
Talking talking about being dressed in the right clothing. Sorry, yeah, you broke up on me. Talking about being dressed in the right clothing, Denmark just introduced that burqas will not be allowed anymore, and Muslims that are in the country better adapt to the culture or leave it. So Europe is progressing in their views. Nobody speaks against the Muslims usually.
Well, they invited everyone there. So it, this is something that is an inevitable action. The political bodies, the culture, because of so much mass immigration and migration, which is not going to be only with Europe. Obviously, because the climate change that's happening right now, it's going to be mass migration happening all over the place, you know. But I feel like the reason why Europe is going through is because they opened their doors. They did it in what they wanted to say is an altruistic view, which everyone knows is not an altruistic thing. Is they're dying populations, and because they're having dying populations, they need to fill people in the workforce with someone. So they let all these immigrants in, and now the immigrants are the major power. They're becoming a major power within inside all the communities. So what comes with the major power? Decision making, culture, and these other things. When you got this is not normally the way Europe is. They're very Germans are German, French are French, Spanish are Spanish. You know, this is this kind of like um, false borders that keep people inside their borders. In America, obviously, we're not like that. You have Texans that are Texan, I guess, right? But in general, everyone kind of sees the states as a collective, and so this cultural blend is probably happening as well. That happened in the United States when the mass migration happened in the industrial age, and now we're dealing with the same thing with, I guess it's the technical war age, you know, which driven people all over the place in the last like 20 to 30 years,
Yeah,
maybe
it's
even over the last
the
100
problem is
years.
not migration, it's illegal migration because people drew imaginary lines and called themselves something, and then they put in rules in place that you can't cross the imaginary lines. Now some of these imaginary lines actually have proper borders and walls and shit. But that's the thing, it's like nobody is from where they say they are. Everybody's from somewhere else, really. You know, if you fucking check your genetic tree, you will see that you are not from the place you think you are, really, you know? So
A big
it's
blend.
just so it's all a big fucking made up concept anyway. And the only problem is like the immigration, obviously, of illegal immigrants coming in and fucking like my auntie's in the US for the past 25 years, crossed in from Mexico, and she's gonna be deported. So that's a weird change, you know? I'm
Right.
pretty sure.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot of people feeling that they could run, but obviously, who knows? Maybe they could run for another 3 years, and then the next president comes in. It's the political climate in the U.S. is kind of fickle in that way. It can change. Donald Trump has really held on to it for with such a powerful, very long time, creating um, his community, and this community has become very strong. So if he fickles his own community, that kind of like starts the crumble of his empire. You know, I mean, this is his last chance being in office. You know, he's not going to become emperor, like everyone said. He's not going to become king, even though he has all these qualities. This is not what will eventually happen. It will go through the whole same cycle as we do every single year for the last 270 or 250 some years. So I
Maybe.
think it's 200, 250. It will. It will. We are so habit formed. We're as humans. It hurts to do something different. It's scary to do
AI is
something
gonna take over
different.
the shit.
That's the
Maybe
only
AI
way.
should make all the decisions, you know?
Yeah, that's the only way. Yeah, that's the only way to do
Yeah.
something that would be so super exotic that we
Then
don't
is
trip over
the
our own
US gonna
feet.
have an AI governor, and then
Yeah,
the rest of the countries are gonna have what?
AI governance. That's real.
Yeah, and then
That's a
what?
real
It
thing.
becomes one fucking globalistic government.
I feel like anything that most humans that will relieve them of work and worry, they're up for it. If it's convenient and they have access to be at
Oh yeah.
ease, they want to take it. They feel like this is the way to go. I'm not going to say everybody, but 90%, 90% of the population. This is what most
I
people
think
want.
we're onto something. I think we are gonna realize our purpose was to develop something bigger than ourselves that we can function within without having too many worries. Kind of like a red blood cell doesn't really fucking think too much about its fucking day. It's just carrying
It just
oxygen
does
and
it.
fucking
Yeah,
it does not even looking at the other red blood cells. It's focused on itself and doing exactly what it needs to do. And that's kind of what we're gonna end up doing. Like there's gonna be this whole automated system around you, hopefully utopian, not dystopian, and then you just get to be human and like have a you go back to that fucking Buddha being on the mountain, you know, and like getting in
and just
touch with your
experience.
fucking with a lot of shit, and also experiencing digital worlds and infinity in a completely different way for way longer than maybe we are doing right now. Like we're gonna be living longer, extending lifespan. You don't even know what kind of inventions we're gonna come up in the next 10 years, don't mind 100 years. Like if you have a
Then
baby
we
today and that
back a
baby
cycle
lives 100
again.
years, it's gonna be alive in 2125. It's like you can't even like the world that we know now is gonna be so much different in 10 years, don't mind. And 10x that, and then 10x that again.
Right.
It's like, is there going to be a big reset? I did hear on Paul Stammet talking about this on Joe Rogan that NASA just found like 2,000 new asteroids coming to Earth. So who knows? Maybe this is the way this shit happens.
Oh, that's with the new telescope. Yeah, I just heard something about that as well.
Yeah,
I can't. I'm trying to
James
remember
Webb.
the name of this telescope. It's not James Webb. It's
James,
a new. It's a
oh,
new
is it a new one?
telescope. Yeah, it's a new ground-based telescope that's in South America, and I think it's
Okay.
like called like the Raven or Roven. I can't exactly remember, but it's supposed to be like either 10 to 100 times wider view, so it can record a bigger view than the James Webb and these other ones. So
Mm.
yeah, it's really crazy. Yeah, like just in that 10-hour span, this because I was watching Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, he said just in a 10-hour span, they found 2,000 new asteroids. And so it's not like they're not searching, right? So they've already been searching. He said on average, the scientists found about 10,000 asteroids per year, new ones. And so with that same rate being applied with the 2010 hours, he said that you would actually find a month's worth of asteroids. I'm sorry, a year worth of asteroids in 1 month with an AI.
For
More
now,
than a
yeah.
year. Yeah,
But I
more
feel
than a
like they're not.
year's
It's
worth.
not really. They don't make it so public, so people fucking don't live like there is no tomorrow. Maybe.
Right? Maybe, maybe. I
Yeah, but
feel like they.
I listen to like
I think
Rogan
they
and
tell
things, and
us.
like he said the amount of times he thought the world was ending. Like he used to have a number plate with like 2012 on it, and all these other things. And a lot of people always think like we are such selfish creatures that we're like, oh, the moment we show up, everything goes to shit. It's like everybody thought that. For centuries, people always fucking come up with these like end dates as if they fucking
The
know.
dinosaurs.
And
The dinosaurs are like, fuck. Why did
yeah.
it happen just when
And
we were
then
getting good?
when it doesn't happen, they reinterpret the data. There's like the Mayans said that in 2012 something was going to happen or in the 2000, and then they reinterpreted that as that was when the first AI concept came up, and that's the year that it started, not when it's supposed to finish. That's the start of the end of the world, which is such a stupid thing to say.
And they had some cycle with the
It's
water,
like saying that
fire,
the Big Bang.
air.
Although I heard they debunked the Big Bang actually. Did you hear that?
I did hear that.
Yeah,
I did hear
did
that.
you dive into that
There's
at all?
Yeah, I heard that the most
Oh,
recent is most likely it's a mirror universe, which is a negative and a positive reflection of each other at this point in space,
that makes so much sense to me, considering everything
right?
is a reflection because it bounces off your eye and it's reflected.
Yeah. Every because in the beginning when the event happened that every um, atom or molecule had to have an opposite of itself.
Hmm.
It just happens in creation. They've actually explored this and seen this in the lab, and so they've proven this to be a fact. And so now with the recreation of every molecule, there's a negative of that molecule, which fills the negative universe that's opposite of us. It makes things like deja vu. It makes things like past life progression. It makes things like the big crunch. You know, the thing where the universe and dark
Yeah.
matter. All these things kind of like coincide with each other and kind of makes the solution to why it is existing, I guess.
Hmm. I think about existence as infinity, and recently I asked ChatGPT. I gave ChatGPT this prompt. I said, "You've read every book in the world. Summarize what they all say in one epic message." And he's like, "All right, here it is." And he says, "You are the universe becoming aware of itself, a fleeting echo of stardust trying to remember its own name. You've been gods and beggars, lovers and tyrants, cells and stars, and every story ever told, every lesson ever learned, whispers the same truth. Wake up, pay attention, love deeply, laugh often, let go, create boldly, and when it's your time, die with wonder in your eyes, knowing you lived as a question, not an answer."
Wow.
That's what supposedly all the big messages from all the books that have ever been written.
Live with the question. That's for sure.
It kind it also ties in with enlightenment. I also asked it to give me like the if you fucking digested all the shit that all the mystics and philosophers ever said, and you had to like describe enlightenment in a sentence, it just said that enlight isn't about becoming anything, it's about unbecoming everything the world told you you are, or figuring out who you were before you were you. And then I thought, what does that actually mean? Who were you before you were you? And then I delved more in, and it said, well, before you were the conception of you, the concept of you, or that's where that came from. You were a sperm and an egg in your parents' bodies, technically, right? And where did that sperm come from? Well, it came from all the nutrients that your father was taking. Where did he get them? And the egg also. Well, he got them from eating animals that were eating other things, that were fucking taking nutrients from other things. And you just have this infinite regress. And the further you go, the more of you disappears. And you realize you end up in like, you go back to all the stars and all the fucking elements that took to even make all the other shit. And then before the stars, there is like this a lot of debate about what was before that, like the quantum fluctuations and all that shit. And then basically beyond that point, nobody knows because the concept of causality itself collapses and nobody knows. And so it's you can just take it
The
as
Watcher.
it's a really long trip. You go from God knows where and God knows how far beyond to this form that's kind of self-aware of itself and not just itself, it's aware of everything else.
Yeah,
And you
does
just get
that
to fuck
that
around
that
here
that
and
goes to
talk on a
this
podcast.
old ancient like kind of knife cut itself type of thing, or the three
Yeah.
body principle type stuff, where
Well,
a
the
body has to
problem is
be
we are trying
observed.
to apply linear thinking to a circular question.
Right, exactly.
That's the
Yeah,
thing.
there's something that,
Yeah.
yeah, the time in which we are actually the you, like you're saying, this you that you created is a figment of your imagination that was brought to you by your parents, by your upbringing, by your culture, by the rules with inside your government. This you is the you that I believe that they were talking about in what you were
Yeah.
saying. And then
And
the
so
other
you have
you,
the two biggest myths. Sorry, continue. Yeah.
I was just going to say, and the other you is this, the natural being, what you were born to do, what you were born with these natural gifts that just so happen to somehow, sometimes fall into place with the real world. You know what I mean?
It depends on your lottery cards that you were dealt with, you know.
Right. Where
Usually
you
because
born,
like
who you born
lottery.
with,
Yeah. Yeah. But
what time.
I was gonna say what was I gonna say? Um God damn it. What did I say right before this?
We
Where
were
I
just
entered
talking about this
conspiracy?
the third body problem, where you have to have someone view you to be seen. And then we were talking about this elements being created and how all it leads back to your creation and being you, the pure or the original, the true you. And that, this third body problem is relevant because we recognize that elements have to be seen. We have already measured something, and if it can only be, you
Observer
can only
effect.
measure. Right, this observer effect. You can only measure the speed, but you can't measure exactly where it is. You can only, if you measure where it is, you can't exactly catch it where the speed is or where it's going to be in the future because it has this quantum effect to it, in which we are all built up of atoms and everything, which are just the next level up of the quantum realm. So we're obviously multi-dimensional just in that fact, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
so
think there's
one in a
infinite. I think
trillion.
it's like a.
We're one in a
I think it's
trillion
like
people, bro.
if you stood in front of two mirrors, like two huge mirrors, and you would see like infinite reflections, and then let's say each of those reflections could the view that's in those reflections could focus on a tiny little millimeter to the other side. Like you don't experience life, like Tony Robbins says, you experience life that you pay attention to. And on the topic of becoming, before I forget, because we're talking about like you get to become the things that sometimes you were put on this planet to do. And so I was going to go into the fact that there is the two biggest myths are based on the concept of either becoming or unbecoming. So you have the hero's journey in all the great myths, like fucking going from the ordinary world and then going through like your get going on the quest on this adventure, this call to adventure, and then like going through these trials and tribulations, finding friends, enemies, and then going through your biggest fear. And if you get through that fear, then you come up with a lesson, and you get to come back to the ordinary world where you came, like the alchemist. But now you have this whole new interpretation of the because you went through the journey, so you reinterpret your world in a completely different way. So you kind of become something else. And then the opposite of that is actually the Buddha story, the unbecoming. As I said, it's unlearning everything you've been taught to realize who you were before you were you. So you have two concepts, becoming and unbecoming.
I see. I see. A building of a truth and an unveiling of a truth is just how I see it in a real
Yeah,
simple
the
way.
reductionist approach, you know?
Hmm. That's definitely choices, and we have in our lives. But obviously, not most, but in the Western mindset is definitely directed to obtaining something to gain value. And then the
Yeah.
opposite for the Buddhist way is to lessen yourself of the burden of carrying something that is not valuable to show that you are the valuable thing, you know?
Yeah. In the West, also, I heard this. This is very interesting because in the West, you kind of see that people like to take a side, like they will show who they're voting for, like in front of the door with a big sign. In the East, nobody would ever do that. And also another thing is that, as I said, because people pick one side, they tend to think about something from only that perspective. Versus in the East, they really adopt this dialectic thinking, which is actually like the yin yang kind of thinking, where they're able to see the truth in both opposite statements, and it gives them more peace. Versus like that conflict that comes from just seeing one side and not agreeing with the other side, because you agree
I can
with
see
both.
that. I can see that.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
if I had to guess, I don't know what you think about this, but if I had to guess, it seems also maybe the this cultural aspect of how religion embodies the day to day life, of how there is a single focal point of action. You know, God is the single body of God, or the single body of Muhammad, or the single body of Moses. This single action is brought to them by this deity. And then if you think about the Asian aspect of it, where they're either mostly atheist, or I believe they're called like amalists or something like this, where they believe in multiple gods. So the one guy can like you, one guy cannot like you. You walk down the street, another guy can bless you. You know what I mean? Because maybe that leaves you open for more opportunities in that sense. You know what I mean? Even with the Buddha, there's
Yeah.
two Buddhas, right? Or three Buddhas, or five Buddhas, or many Buddhas, and each one of them has some
Hinduism has like a
aspect.
thousand fucking gods,
Right, right. And so
which
they
is you
have
can
this
always find
aspect.
one that fits you the best, that you wanna be like the most because it resonates with you. Versus if you don't resonate with one true God, then you are not worthy of whatever. Let's say I don't even think people think that. I think every people would usually like Christians will tell you, "Oh no, you're worthy. You can always change. You can always adopt Christ into your life." I just feel like Christ wasn't Christian, Muhammad wasn't Muslim, and Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. You know, they were all preaching the
Obviously,
same message. But the thing is, here's the thing: people, that's what we're talking about. They're very self-interested, and they will commercialize anything. They will sell fucking crosses. They will sell Buddha. Like, think about how much money people make in Asia just from all these, like the thing that they have for Buddha, for all the little candles. Just the candles, buying them every. Like, I know they're
all the
cheap, but the whole fucking
decorations.
country buys them all day, every day, all the time. And those little houses for Buddha are really expensive, and the richest people have the biggest, most beautiful houses that cost a lot of money. So people will commercialize anything. It's a philosophy, it's not a god, but you still fucking pray to it every day and all this kind
I
like
mean, if you really think about religion, is marketing.
it's really
It's
smart.
direct,
It's really
yeah,
smart.
very direct marketing. You know, you get a
Yeah.
specific group, you tell them what they need and what's going to get them to feel a certain way. Where they most time, they tell you that you're burdened. You know what I mean? That you're
Yeah,
a sinner,
the
that you're a
same
bad
way,
person,
sorry,
and we can
the
relieve
same
that.
way
So
the same way you wear a Nike shirt to show that you want to signal all the values that Nike signals, like just do it and be associated with all these people that wear Nike. The same way you wear a cross on your fucking neck to be associated with all the good values that Christianity brings, and then all that for all the other religions. It's just a brand, kind of, if you think about it.
it is. It
But
is.
you self advertise and you self preach to then belong to those groups that also believe those values and fucking have conflict with the groups that don't. It's kind of
It's
funny.
been. It's,
It is a brand.
I'm sure in the beginning it was probably even beneficial uh, for creating the borders. You know what I mean? Creating boundaries so you can get people and taxes and money into certain coffers. You know what I mean? To be able to organize and do what you as the powerful, you as the embodied manipulator, you as the deity, to be able to have control. I feel like why I don't know who if you were a king, you never knew you were a king. You weren't a king before. If you were a prince, you always tried to get away from the kingdom. This is what Buddha did, right? Nobody really wants to be the king, the emperor, right? They end up in these positions because the
Some
people
people do.
put. Well, think about it
Yeah.
though. People put them in these positions because they are the puppet in which they can manipulate. They were the manipulator. Now they are being manipulated in order for the benefits of a bigger group. It's just this dominance thing. And so by leaving you the unknown vulnerable, they're always being taken by the apex predators, you know? They have more resources, they have more money, they got more avenues to manipulate and detour you from reaching your goals. And they're all the benefits from reaching their goals, you know?
Sorry, you were breaking up a little bit there, but yeah, you seen that a lot in China with the emperors. They used to always get fucking assassinated when they got into power,
Yeah.
and until
It's
somebody
never a
came
good
along,
spot.
and I forget which one it was. Uh, that fucking managed to like pay off all the generals and give them like land and beautiful wives and kind of just send them on their way so they wouldn't try to take his throne.
Now only lasts for so long, right?
Yeah, that's what it is.
The what
But
is it something like the crown weighs heavy on the king's head or something like this. This is the saying. The crown weighs heavy. And so the burden, yeah, with like Superman, with great power comes great responsibility.
with great responsibility comes great power.
There you go.
Because
So
when you take responsibility for, let's say you take responsibility for every single thing that happens to you, then there is a lot of power in that because then you can work on all that shit. You can't blame anybody else, so you have all the power to change something because it's all on you. Yeah, but I
yeah,
think my headphones are gonna die
yeah.
because
My phone's running to
I
the end too.
you froze on me again. Maybe just stuck in this position. Is that what you're doing? Shit. You froze, brother. And that was the podcast with friends. We're gonna do this occasionally because I believe this thing that I heard because I feel like it highlights the reality really good, and it's that your best friends are those who you have the least filter with. And Wayne is definitely one of those guys that I can just say anything that's on my mind or that's happening, and he will not judge me for it. He will listen to me and try to understand it, and I will feel understood most of the time. And it's like you have to find those people who you have the least amount of filter with, and that's definitely way no for me. So all I can say is that I hope you find one of these guys in your life also, and maybe we can come back and do this some other time. So peace out, guys, and have a good night.